My daughter revealed the incredible truth. 5 life-changing lessons my mother-in-law taught me. It was the kind of morning where every minute felt like a race against time. Sarah hurriedly wiped the morning haze from her eyes while Lily, her spark of sunlight, giggled as she danced in her unicorn pajamas. The clattering of dishes and sizzling of eggs filled their cozy little kitchen. But beneath the bright colors was an unsettling dull ache. It came from the relentless grind of juggling 2 jobs just to keep the roof over their heads. Sarah often felt like she was sprinting on a treadmill, the finish line forever out of reach. On the surface, they looked like a picture-perfect family, but one glance at the judgmental smirks from a few neighbors reminded her of the unspoken hierarchy in their suburban world. Yet, in the heavy air of economic inequality, a gentle hand reached out. June, her mother-in-law, had stepped into their lives ever since Sarah's husband passed. Once an almost phantom presence on the outskirts of family gatherings, she now came forward with warmth and compassion. With her apron tied around her waist, June whipped up hearty meals, the sweet aroma filling their home like comfort itself. You too deserve a little love, she'd say, painting tiny rainbows on the edges of Sarah's worries. One evening, as they sat in the fading light of the kitchen, sharing laughter over cupcakes, Lily turned to Sarah, her bright eyes full of wonder. "Mom, I think Grandma June is a superhero." The words flowed like a balm for Sarah's weary heart, tugging the corners of her lips into a rare smile. In that moment, Sarah realized she hadn't just gained a helping hand. She'd found a kindred spirit willing to help her navigate a storm. Yet the clouds loomed dark. A job offer arrived, promising a sizable raise but demanded an exodus across the country, leaving June alone in her big house, filled with echoes of the past. Torn between the dreams of a better life and the loyalty she felt towards June, Sarah sat on the thin line between ambition and family. Guilt weighed heavily in her chest. "What's the point of chasing dreams if it means abandoning those who need you?" she whispered to herself late at night. Emotions boiled over during a tense conversation with June, revealing cracks in their bond. Old wounds resurfaced, and a heart-wrenching confrontation spilled forth the pain of loss and the fear of being left behind. But in the middle of that chaos, something shifted. June's stories unfolded like an ancient tapestry, weaving resilience through tales of struggle and love, igniting a hope that flickered anew in Sarah's heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That night, as laughter floated around their kitchen table, once more painting nails and sharing secrets, Sarah and June felt a thread of connection weaving them tighter together. But as the sun rose and Sarah's mind turned back to the daunting decision ahead, the doorbell rang, shaking her from her thoughts. She watched as Lily shot toward the door, eyes wide with joy at the sight of a stranger. Anxiety knotted her stomach. What would this unexpected visitor bring? Would it unravel everything they had built together, or lead them toward a greater breakthrough? As the door swung open, Sarah felt her heart race. The stranger stood there, with a warm smile that felt oddly familiar. He was in his 30s with tousled brown hair and a look that screamed confidence, yet compassion. "Hi, I'm Ben," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "I'm your neighbor from down the street. I just moved in last week." Lily's face lit up. "Hi Ben. Do you like unicorns?" she asked, her innocence spilling like sunshine into the moment. Taken aback by her exuberance, Sarah couldn't help but chuckle as she watched Ben kneel to meet her eye level. "I sure do. As long as they can fly. Do you have any special unicorn adventures to share?" The two chatted while Sarah felt a tug of reserve. There was something she should say. Something about their struggles, but she couldn't find the words. What would a neighbor know about juggling bills and making ends meet? But the way Ben smiled at Lily, the way she giggled at his jokes, cracked open a little door of trust within her. "So are you new to the area?" Sarah finally managed to ask, regaining her composure. "Yeah," he nodded, his eyes scanning the cozy home. "I just needed a change, you know? Work was getting overwhelming, and I wanted to find a place that felt like home." He paused, his expression softening. "I can tell that this one feels special. His comment made something stir in Sarah's chest. Was it hope? They had been so busy focused on survival that maybe they could also find joy amidst the chaos. She glanced over at June, now watching from the kitchen with a hint of a smile. Would you like to join us for tea, or maybe some cupcakes? June asked, her gentle voice cutting through the tension like a warm breeze. There was a lilt to her invitation, an unspoken acknowledgement of needing community, and it filled the small kitchen with an inviting warmth. Ben's face lit up. I'd love that. Just moved in and it feels right to get to know my neighbors better. As they settled in, tea steaming in front of each of them, laughter spilled over the table, intermingled with stories of new beginnings and everyday challenges. Sarah felt something shift within her as they shared ideas and dreams. The shadows of her worries seemed just a little lighter in the company of newfound friendship. So Sarah, what are your dreams? If you could do anything, what would it be? Ben asked, leaning forward, sincerity pouring from his gaze. The question hung in the air. Sarah swallowed hard. Would she dare say it? Her voice trembled slightly before she responded. Well, I guess I'd love to write. You should. Ben encouraged. You have a beautiful perspective on life. It sounds like you have so many stories to tell. The compliment washed over her like a gentle tide, filling her with a soft confidence she hadn't felt in months. The thought of pursuing her dreams now seemed a little less daunting. It was like standing at the edge of an ocean that promised adventure, but the warm glow of connection was abruptly pierced by her internal voice of doubt, reminding her of June's sacrifices and their precarious situation. Could embracing her dreams mean pushing everyone she loved aside? As thoughts spiraled in her mind, Lily chimed in, Mom, can we start a story together? You can write unicorn adventures. We can make Grandma June the hero. In that moment, Sarah felt the tension ease. It wasn't about choosing between her dreams and her family. Perhaps it was about weaving them together. Yet just as she was about to share this revelation with Ben and June, the doorbell rang again. This time it felt heavier, like a harbinger of conflict. What now? Sarah wondered, a flutter of fear creeping back in. Who else stood on their doorstep? Would they disrupt this beautiful moment, or challenge everything they had just begun to rebuild? As Sarah stood, doubts now piquing a new anxiety, she couldn't help but wonder, was this stranger just an intrusion? Or could the next visitor bring the answer they all truly needed? Sarah hesitated, her heart drumming loudly in her chest as she glanced towards June and Ben. Their smiles hung in the air, but a knot tightened in her stomach. What if this visitor brought unwelcome news? She took a deep breath, pushed aside her fears, and opened the door. Standing there was a woman dressed in a brightly colored windbreaker, her hair pulled back in a tight bun. Hi, I'm Carol from the Neighborhood Association, she said, her voice crisp and authoritative, like someone used to being heard. Hi, Carol, Sarah replied, her tone laced with uncertainty as she stepped aside to let the woman in. I just wanted to pop over and introduce myself. Welcome you to the neighborhood and mention an upcoming meeting, Carol continued, her gaze sweeping across the warm space and landing on Ben. Oh, and you're new too. Yeah, just moved in last week, Ben confirmed, his enthusiasm still intact, but a hint of caution crept into his eyes. Carol's demeanor changed slightly as she turned to Sarah. You have a lovely home here. It must be nice to have a place you can call your own. I hope you're managing with the interest rates going up. It must be tough for everyone around. Right, Sarah said, her throat tightening. She wasn't ready to open up about their struggles, especially not to this woman. Anyway, Carol pressed on. The meeting is on Thursday at the community center. We discuss community safety, neighbors assistance, things like that. You should come. It's a good way to get involved and meet more people. Oh, Sarah started to decline, but she caught Ben's optimistic expression. He seemed genuinely interested in forming connections, perhaps even seeing this as an opportunity for her. Sounds great. We'd love to join. Ben chimed in, effortlessly cutting through the air of hesitation. A flash of gratitude filled Sarah's heart, but just as quickly, doubt shrouded it again. Joining a meeting meant stepping out of their quiet routine, exposing their vulnerabilities. Right. Of course, she echoed, forcing a smile. Excellent. I look forward to seeing you all there. Carol grinned, unaware of the tension brewing beneath the surface. She took a step back and before leaving she added, remember, it's together that we thrive as a community. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. With that, Carol left, her words lingering in the air like the fading scent of perfume. Together, huh? June mused softly, breaking the silence. The warmth that had moments earlier enveloped them turned into a cautious chill. Sarah's pulse raced at the thought of sharing their life challenges with others. Did they dare to be vulnerable? Did they dare to dream? Sarah. Ben's voice, gentle yet insistent, brought her back to the moment. What do you think? I don't know. Sarah felt overwhelmed. The idea of opening up felt paralyzing, yet she could see the flicker of hope in Ben and June's eyes. Maybe we can start small, June suggested, nudging her hand with a small reassuring touch. A story of our own. In the community room we could share our love for unicorns. It would help us connect. You think so? Sarah asked, surprised. The thought made her heart flutter. Definitely. It could be fun, Lily chimed in, her eyes alight with excitement, and that moment, something clicked for Sarah. It was more than just about their individual dreams. It was about weaving together their hopes and fears into a tapestry they could all share. Maybe this community could be the lifeline they desperately needed. But before she could fully embrace that thought, a new wave of apprehension hit her. What if stepping out meant facing deeper struggles? Or what if they revealed more than they were ready to share? As uncertainty loomed, Sarah realized their journey had only just begun. Could this meeting open doors they long kept shut? Just as those thoughts began to settle, the doorbell rang again. Sarah turned to the door, her heart skipping a beat. Ben and June exchanged anxious glances, mirroring her apprehension. Could it be Carol again? Or perhaps someone else from the neighborhood eager to peer into their lives? With hesitant hands, she gripped the doorknob and pulled it open. This time an elderly woman stood in the doorway, her silver hair neatly tucked away in a floral scarf. She wore glasses that framed her gentle blue eyes, which sparkled with kindness and a hint of mischief. Hello there, dear. I'm Edith, she said, her voice warm and rich like comforting tea. Hi, Edith, Sarah replied, a little caught off guard by the sudden shift in energy. What can we do for you? I can see the light filling this lovely home of yours. It reminded me of my own when I first moved here. Edith smiled, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. I just wanted to welcome you personally and share something special. Her demeanor felt like a balm to Sarah's frayed nerves. As Edith made herself at home, adjusting a picture frame on the mantel, Sarah's heart lightened just a bit. What can we help you with? Asked Ben, keen to keep the conversation flowing. Oh dear, I'm not here for anything but friendship. This neighborhood has given me so much, and I'd love to share that with you. Edith replied, her voice full of sincerity. What do you mean? June asked, her curiosity piqued. There's a little tradition in our community. We gather every month for knitting and storytelling. It's how we connect, support each other, and share both joys and burdens, she explained, her eyes twinkling with nostalgia. And every time, someone new gets to present their story or talent. I think it's your turn now. June bounced excitedly on her feet. Really? That sounds amazing. Edith turned her gaze to Sarah, who felt her heart pounding. While June's enthusiasm wrapped around her like a warm blanket, Sarah recoiled slightly at the thought of standing in front of others to share their tale. Sharing a story can be powerful, Edith continued, sensing Sarah's hesitation. It helps us knit our hearts together, dear. Every stitch counts. Ben's hand found Sarah's, a grounding presence in the storm of emotions brewing within her. I think we should do it, Sarah. Could be fun. His eyes were full of encouragement. Fun or terrifying, Sarah murmured. The truth hung in the air like a heavy cloud. What if opening up revealed their struggles? What if they weren't ready for this kind of connection? Sometimes the scariest thing leads to the best moments, Edith said, her voice soft yet firm. It's all in how we choose to look at it. Looking at her, Sarah saw the warmth of community shining through. A glimmer of understanding in the woman's expression. Could this be the chance they needed? To break free from their self-imposed isolation? What do you think? June asked again, her eyes wide with hope. The air crackled with possibility. Sarah took a deep breath, the knot in her stomach beginning to loosen just a little. What if we share something a bit different? Something that uses all of us? Yes, Ben exclaimed, his excitement spilling over. Let us tell our own story together. With a surge of courage fueled by the support surrounding her, Sarah nodded slowly. Okay, let us give it a try. Edith beamed, her smile erupting like sunshine breaking through clouds. But just as Sarah felt a flicker of excitement, her phone buzzed on the table, drawing her attention. Not another ring, not now. The last thing she wanted was for something to disrupt this budding connection. She picked it up, heart racing as she read the message. It was a notification from her bank, and her breath caught. Could this be about the interest rates Carol mentioned? Sarah, what is it? Ben asked, noticing her sudden change in expression. The light in the room dimmed as the weight of reality settled heavily on her shoulders. I need to check this. With her heart in her throat, she studied the screen, uncertainty swirling within her. This could shift everything. Would this be the wall that brought them crashing back to reality, or a challenge to face together? Just when it seemed like the air had thickened with tension, the phone buzzed again, and Sarah knew they were on the brink of a revelation. What awaited her on the other side of that screen could change everything. Sarah glanced at the screen again, her breath shallow. The message was just as she feared. A warning about exceeding the budget limit. Her vision swayed slightly, focusing and unfocusing as her mind spiraled. How could she explain this to Ben? To June? It's just a notification, she whispered, trying to dismiss the weight of it. But the thought clung like fog. They had been so hopeful, ready to embrace connection, and here reality had reared its head like a cold wind. She could feel the warmth leaving the room, the excitement ebbing away. Sarah. Ben's voice was there, tender and aware. He stepped closer, concern etched on his face. What did it say? It's just she hesitated. Something I didn't want to think about right now. Her heart raced and she could hear the pulse in her ears, a reminder that decisions were looming, and consequences followed closely behind. Edith watched them both, her knowing gaze steady. We all carry burdens, dear, but isn't it better to share them? Yeah, but this is different. Sarah's voice trembled almost imperceptibly. A dark shadow cast over her words. We barely know each other. I don't want to throw my problems at new friends. June tilted her head, confusion flickering across her face. But we're in this together, she said, her voice just a whisper. You said we wanted to share our story. Yes, but Sarah felt the weight of the moment pressing down like a mountain on her chest. What if it just pushes us apart? What if it makes things worse? Ben squeezed her hand. You won't know until you try. His unwavering support was a balm to her growing anxiety. The soft light in the room had dimmed, but his warmth radiated like a beacon. Edith, can you give us a moment? Sarah asked, needing space to navigate her feelings. Of course, dear. Edith stepped back, her expression full of understanding, as if she had seen this before and knew the power of silence. The three of them stood in a fragile circle, and Sarah closed her eyes, breathing in deeply. The tension felt electric, yet the air was still. All right, she said finally, peering into the faces that held her past and her future. If we're doing this, I have to be honest. That message is about our finances. Things have been tough since I lost my job. June's eyes widened with concern. But Sarah, you didn't have to carry that alone. We all struggle sometimes. Sarah felt tears pricking the edges of her eyes. I wasn't sure you'd understand. I've been so scared of dragging you down with me. Ben shifted closer, a silent reminder that she wasn't alone. You're not a burden, Sarah. You're our friend. The knot in her chest began to unravel. I guess I just wanted to hide it, but I think it's time to start building a new story, the kind that includes all of us. Together. Edith stepped closer, her presence providing warmth. Life is about sharing both joys and challenges. When we bind our stories, we create a tapestry more beautiful than any one thread can offer. Are you ready? Sarah hesitated but felt the flicker of hope rekindling. Yes, I want to try. Just then her phone rang again, breaking the moment anew. The sound felt insistent, a reminder that life was indeed pressing in. She glanced at the caller ID, and her heart sank. It was Carol. Should I answer? Sarah whispered, trepidation rising. Each ring felt like a countdown. Only if you're ready, Ben replied softly, his grip tightening around her hand. Swallowing hard, Sarah took a deep breath. The choices ahead of her lining up like runners at a starting line. What would this call bring? As she reached for the phone, the tension crackled in the air, and she knew this would be a pivotal moment for all of them. Sarah's fingers trembled as she reached for the phone, her heart pounding like a drumbeat in her chest. She took another deep breath and pressed the green button. The call connected, and for a moment, silence filled the air. Sarah. Carol's voice came through, uncertain and slightly strained. Hi, Carol, Sarah replied, trying to keep her tone steady. But the weight of the conversation ahead loomed over her like a dark cloud. I've been trying to reach you. There's something important we need to discuss. The pit in Sarah's stomach deepened. She glanced at Ben, who was watching her, lips pressed into a thin line of concern. June's expression mirrored his, worry etched across her face. Is it about the bills? Sarah ventured, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes. Carol hesitated, and that pause felt like an eternity. We're falling behind, Sarah. You promised me you'd take care of it when you lost your job. I know, Sarah said, the words catching in her throat. I'm trying, it's just been so hard. Hard for you or hard for us all? Carol shot back, the edge in her voice cutting deep. I've been managing everything since you lost your job. Don't you think it's time to step up? Each word felt like a blow. Sarah clenched her jaw, pushing back tears. The disappointment that flowed from Carol was suffocating. Maybe you could help me, Sarah suggested, her voice quivering. Maybe we can work together on this, find a solution? But the line dropped abruptly. The silence that followed was like a slap, and Sarah felt the tears spill over. A soft hand brushed her back. It was Ben, steadying her, a lifeline amidst the crashing waves of her emotions. June stepped forward, a fierce expression on her face. You can't take that anger alone, Sarah. It's not fair. Feeling the warmth of their support, Sarah allowed the tears to flow. I don't want to be a burden to anyone. I wanted to solve this by myself. Edith suddenly re-entered the space, sensing the shift in atmosphere. She took one look at Sarah and instantly knelt beside her, her hand on the younger woman's knee. It's okay to lean on others, sweetheart. We all need support. It's how we grow. Sarah looked up at Edith, her heart swelling with gratitude. But what if I let everyone down? What if I can't fix this? Failure is the end, Edith replied gently, her voice infused with strength. You can only rise higher when you pull back the shadows of your fears. Remember, you're not alone in this fight. Sarah's breath hitched at the depth of those words. Together we can figure this out, Sarah, June added softly. You've already taken the first step by being honest with us. But I don't even know where to start, Sarah admitted, wiping her tears away with the back of her hand. That's why we're here, Ben said, offering an encouraging smile. Let us make a plan together. We'll break it down, piece by piece. No judgments. Feeling the warmth of their encouragement envelop her, Sarah nodded slowly. Maybe opening up was the first step she needed to take. A renewed strength surged through her. All right, she whispered, her voice firming up. Let us do this. But just as she felt a flicker of hope, her phone buzzed again. A sharp reminder of her reality. It was a notification from the bank, a low balance alert that seemed to mock her newfound resolve. She stared at the screen, the brightness illuminating her face. And she knew the fight was only beginning. What other surprises lay ahead? Would she find the strength to face husband, bills, and her own doubts? Sarah stared at her phone, the notification echoing in her mind. Low balance alert. It felt like the walls were closing in. She took a deep breath and tried to focus on the warmth of her friends beside her. Ben's supportive smile was a lifebuoy in her turbulent sea of emotions, and June's fierce presence felt like a shield against her spiraling thoughts. What now? June asked, her voice soft yet steady. The concern in her eyes sparked something in Sarah, a determination to fight through the fog clouding her mind. Let us sit down and take a serious look at what we can do, Ben suggested, motioning toward the small table in the corner. We'll figure this out together. With a shaky breath, Sarah pushed herself up from the couch, the path ahead not seeming nearly as daunting with her friends surrounding her. The four of them settled around the table, and Sarah felt the need for a strategy before her emotions took over again. I've been using my savings little by little, Sarah began, her voice steadier now. But I'm out. Maybe I can get a temporary job? Something to help while I'm searching for full-time work. That's a good start. Edith chimed in, her tone reflective. But maybe we should also see where we can cut costs. Tighten the budget a little. June nodded enthusiastically. We can help with a plan. What are your biggest expenses right now? Sarah listed off her bills, her heart sinking further with each word. Rent, utilities, groceries. Each one felt heavier. A weight she'd been carrying alone for too long. She felt the urge to crumble, to let the tears spill again, to hide away from the world. But Ben reached out and took her hand. "You're not alone in this, Sarah. Remember that." His eyes were so sincere. It made her heart swell with appreciation. This bond, this support, it was everything. They spent the next hour brainstorming ways to reduce expenses and searching for local job listings. Sarah's resolve grew as they shared ideas and made plans. The old, heavy feelings began to peel away, replaced by a flicker of hope. As they finalized their list, June suddenly perked up. "Maybe we can start a small online shop. You love crafting, right? I bet there are people who would love your work." Sarah had to laugh, but it felt good. "I haven't crafted in months. Who would want what I make?" "Plenty of people. But that's not the point. It's about feeling good doing something you love while you're figuring everything out." Edith weighed in. "You'd be surprised at what can happen when you combine passion with practicality. It could not only help financially but lift your spirits too." "Could it?" Sarah bit her lip, contemplating the idea. What if she leaned into her creativity more? What if she dared to believe that there was more beyond her failures? Ben squeezed her hand again, encouraging her unspoken thoughts. "What do you have to lose?" With a sudden burst of energy, Sarah nodded. "You know what? I want to try. I'll gather my supplies and see what I can come up with." That night, as they all shared laughter and ideas, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. She realized facing her fears didn't mean doing it alone. She had her community, her friends, her family cheering her on. But the evening couldn't outpace the shadows of her situation. The next morning, as the sun leaked through the curtains, she received another message, one that sent a new chill down her spine. It was an eviction notice. Her heart raced as she read it, the world around her narrowing to a single point of focus. Everything she had been working towards hung precariously. Would she truly be able to rise above the wreckage of her fears? The fight was far from over. Could she find the strength to confront the reality of her life once again? As the sunlight flooded her small apartment, Sarah felt as if it were glaring directly at her insecurities. The eviction notice lay crumpled on the side table. Each syllable of its words weighed heavy in her chest, tightening like a noose. She wanted to scream, to cry, to bury herself under the covers and never come out. But the warmth of her friends' voices from last night echoed in her mind, reminding her of their belief in her. With a deep breath, Sarah picked up her phone, her mind racing. She hesitated momentarily, then punched in a few numbers, her heart drumming with uncertainty. It was time to reach out again, to seek help from the very people who had stood by her before. She knew they wouldn't let her fall. "Hey, it's me," she said as soon as her mom answered. She didn't give her mother a chance to ask how she was. The trembling in her voice gave everything away. "I got an eviction notice, I don't know what to do." There was silence on the other end. A heavy pause that felt like an eternity. Then her mother sighed. "Sarah, we'll figure this out. You're going to be okay. Just tell me what you need." With her support, Sarah began to outline her options. They talked about old friends who might offer temporary help, local programs that assisted with rent, and even some distant relatives who might have a room to spare. Each possibility felt like a glimmer of hope breaking through the clouds. Once they hung up, Sarah felt a mixture of relief and dread. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to face whatever came next. Later that day, she dug through her crafting supplies, pulled out her old paintbrushes, and arranged everything on the dining table. The colors seemed to leap from the bottles, waiting for her to wield them again. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing memories of laughter and the joy of creation to fill her. A flicker of excitement began to stir within her. Could this be her new beginning? As the brush touched the canvas, Sarah began to paint. Swirls of color blended together, and with each stroke, she felt stronger. The pressure of her financial struggles began to fade, replaced by a rhythm of creativity. Time slipped away, and before she knew it, a few hours had passed. She sat back in her chair, breathing heavily but smiling at her work, something she hadn't expected to feel. She snapped a picture of her colorful creation and sent it to June with a text. "Look what I made. Maybe I should really consider that online shop?" Within moments, her phone pinged. June's enthusiastic reply lit up the screen. "Yes, this is amazing. We need to get you started. People will love your art. Let us brainstorm tonight." Excitement bubbled inside Sarah, chasing away the looming fears. Spending the evening with her friends brainstorming ways to promote her first online shop filled her with purpose. But despite her newfound enthusiasm, Sarah still felt the heavy hand of her circumstances creeping in. The eviction notice lingered in her memory, refusing to be ignored. Alongside her artistic venture, she knew she had to tackle the financial beast head-on. That night, as she lay in bed, doubts crept in. She had begun to paint a new chapter in her life, but could she really pull it off? Was it too late for her dreams? Just then, another ping from her phone jolted her. It was an email. Heart pounding, she opened it, and her breath caught in her throat. It was from a local art fair inviting her to showcase her work. Could this be the opportunity she'd been seeking? The chance to jumpstart her career? It was a step into the unknown, but for the first time in a long while for Sarah it felt like a leap of faith. But who would she turn to for advice? Would her friends support her in this new venture? Could she face the fear of rejection all over again? As her mind whirled with possibilities, Sarah realized that she stood at a crossroads. One road led to familiar fears while the other promised unknown joys. Which path would she choose? The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window, warming her cheeks. Sarah didn't jump out of bed like she usually did. Instead, she lingered beneath the covers, staring up at the ceiling. The email had been like a door crack, just opened enough to let a sliver of light in. But doubts crowded her mind like shadows. What if she wasn't good enough? What if no one liked her art? After a long moment, she swung her legs over the side of the bed, feeling the coolness of the floor beneath her feet. Time to get moving. She picked up her phone, prepared to dive back into the plan with June. But first she took a deep breath and called her mom again. "Hey, I got the invitation for the art fair," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Sarah, that's fantastic. You have to do this." Her mother's enthusiasm was infectious, brightening the remaining clouds in Sarah's heart. "I don't know, what if it's a disaster?" "No," her mother said firmly. "You won't know until you try. You're talented, remember that. And it's a chance for your art to speak." With her mother's encouragement echoing in her ears, Sarah started to visualize her booth. She grabbed her sketchbook and began doodling ideas for how to display her work, how she would want it to feel inviting and colorful, just like her paintings. The day flew by as she painted in bursts of vibrant color, spurred on by each stroke that seemed to add more life and energy to the canvas. June texted throughout, bouncing ideas off her about pricing, marketing, and social media strategies, turning Sarah's initial panic into a flurry of planning. By the time evening came, she had 4 paintings almost finished, each one more vivid than the last. There was a cleansing sense of freedom, something she had longed for these past weeks, like she was breaking through something heavy. Her phone buzzed again. It was June, asking if they could meet up that night to finalize their plans. "Sure. Let me just clean up," Sarah texted back before looking at the array of brushes and paints surrounding her. As she tidied up, her heart raced with anticipation. Was she really on the brink of something big? Or was she about to set herself up for another disappointment like every other time? She couldn't let herself dwell too long on those thoughts. When June arrived, Sarah greeted her at the door, her face lighting up with a smile. It was easy to slip back into their groove, bouncing ideas and jokes back and forth as they spread out Sarah's artwork on the table. The excitement was palpable, and for a moment, the eviction notice faded from her mind. "Look at these," Sarah said, beaming at her friend. "I can't believe I did them. Honestly, Sarah, they are gorgeous. We need to take photos of them for social media. The world needs to see this." June's passion was magnetic. They snapped pictures, posting them on various platforms, and soon messages flooded in. The excitement built thicker in the air. People were sharing her work. It felt surreal, lifting Sarah's spirits higher as more and more responses came in. But somewhere deep within, a familiar fear started creeping back. What if this was all a fluke? What if at the fair, nobody stopped by her booth? As the laughter from June filled the room, Sarah fought the unease gnawing at her. Amidst their laughter, a sudden silence fell. June's expression changed, and Sarah noticed her friend staring at something behind her. "What is it?" Sarah turned around, her heart racing again. There, pinned to the wall, was the crumpled eviction notice, still lingering like an unwanted guest. "Sarah, you really need to tackle this before getting too wrapped up in the art fair." The weight of reality came crashing back. The vibrant colors began to dull in her vision, reminding her of the harsh edges of life she still needed to navigate. "Yeah, I know," she murmured, her heart heavy again. "But I just want to focus on something good for a change." June stepped closer, eyes soft and understanding. "That's okay. You can do both. But let us talk about it together." As they sat down around the table, Sarah hesitated. What was next for her? Could she really balance her passion and her problems? Right then, amid the chaos of her thoughts, a text chimed on her phone, an anonymous message from a number she didn't recognize. "Be careful, Sarah. They are watching." A chill cascaded down her spine. Who was watching? What did that mean for her dreams? As fear gripped her, she realized that the crossroads she stood at was more complicated than she'd thought. Would she face her fears head-on, or let them drag her down again? Sarah took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions swirling around her. That message was a dark cloud casting shadows over the vibrant colors she had just painted back into her life. Her hands trembled slightly as she set the phone down, carefully suppressing the panic that threatened to rise. "Sarah, you okay?" June's voice cut through the fog. "Yeah, I don't know." She glanced at June, whose concern echoed deep within her. The weight of the eviction notice was still heavy on her heart, but now this new message added another layer. "We need to figure out a plan, not just for the art fair but for everything." June took a seat next to her, her expression soft yet focused. "You're not alone in this. Remember that." Lily danced into the room, her brightness glowing against the shadow of Sarah's worries. "Mommy, can we paint unicorns again?" "Absolutely, sweetheart," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. The innocence of her daughter was like a warm hug, a small beacon of hope. It struck her then as if a light bulb turned on. In that moment, Sarah realized something important. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for Lily and June too. Building a future meant facing the fears together. "We can make this work." "Both of them," she murmured, her voice building in strength. "I can create and learn to manage finances. It's not one or the other, right?" June smiled proudly, as if she believed in Sarah more than she believed in herself. "Right. We can do both." With newfound determination, Sarah set her focus. "Let us meet with Carol. Maybe we can negotiate. I'll explain what I've been doing with the art, how it's coming together. There has to be a way." "Yes, I'll go with you. We can present it as a community project like your art helping pay for rent." June nodded firmly. At that moment, the door opened and Edith walked in, her demeanor always commanding warmth and stability. "I felt the energy shift in the universe and thought I'd come checking on my favorite artists. Edith, can you join us for a moment?" Sarah invited, her heart racing with the idea of sharing her whole truth, fears included. They settled around the table, and Sarah breathed deeply to center herself. "I have a lot on my plate right now and I don't want to hide it anymore." She shared the eviction notice, the stress of balancing her dreams and bills, and the anxiety of new messages that made her feel vulnerable. The air was thick with honesty and camaraderie as she spilled out her heart, and by the end, there wasn't a single judgmental glance. Instead, there were only understanding nods. Edith squeezed Sarah's hand. "Life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges our way and testing our limits. But like I've always said, every story brings you closer to connections you never knew you needed." June's eyes sparkled as she spoke. "And as a community, we can lift you up. Together. Let us start by helping with that meeting with Carol. We can give our neighborhood something beautiful. Your art." Feeling their support, Sarah's spirit soared. "Let us do this. Yes to the art fair, yes to the meeting. I can't keep hiding every time things get tough. Life is messy, but it's also beautiful." With renewed excitement, they began to strategize. Saturday night was set for the meeting, and it felt strikingly more like a celebration than a confrontation. Sarah sorted through her colorful art pieces, assembling them with June's input on the best display. On the day of the meeting, Sarah's heart raced in anticipation. As she entered the community center hand in hand with June and Lily, she glimpsed familiar faces that nodded with encouragement. "Remember, you're not alone," Ben whispered as he caught up to them. The evening progressed, with nerves transforming into excitement. Sarah spoke about her journey, her dreams of an art shop that could support their family, while weaving the significance of community around her words. Tears glimmered in the eyes of neighbors who listened attentively, She saw understanding where once there were shadows. When she finished, a soft hush settled over the room. Then Carol stood, a look of surprise coloring her features. I never realized. Thank you for being so brave, Sarah. It's time to be a community that supports each other. We can work with you to alleviate the stress from rent. Everyone can help in their way. With heartfelt cheers and applause, the weight on Sarah's shoulders began to lift. Their community was rallying around them, ready to extend every helping hand. Months later, her art shop was thriving, back in the heart of their neighborhood with pieces that spoke not just of beauty, but of resilience. And Lily, with sparkly paint on her hands, stood proudly beside her. Life wasn't perfect, but it was richer, filled with the textures of shared stories, dreams born from every struggle faced together. Remarkably, they had woven a tapestry of strength, hope, and community that would shine for years to come. As Sarah captured the moment with her paintbrush, she finally felt what it meant to be home. This is the moment. Don't wait not even one more second. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive journey, and support this channel that brings hope and inspiration. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let us grow this community. Comment your reactions and feelings about this finale below, and don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything.